Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Houston Sharpshooters Draft to Glory franchise mode here in NHL 22. Yes, the game has finally been fixed after like 2 weeks, and I am glad to get back into doing some franchise mode content. Sorry that I didn't do any of those in the last 2 weeks. It's because I legitimately had no episodes pre-recorded, and then the Russian bug happened in terms of franchise mode, and I couldn't play any franchise mode for like the last 2 weeks. Like, this save file is literally from April the 1st, so I haven't played franchise mode in 12 days before this, so I apologize about that. But anyways, we're going to be able to get this offseason done in this episode, which is good, and hopefully we can get this team back to the Cup Finals like they were a few years ago, because we were just eliminated by the Dallas Stars in the second round, if you guys didn't catch that episode from a few weeks back. So hopefully this team could maybe go through a little bit of a mini retool, because we still have, I think, around 10 seasons left at the maximum before we hit the 25-year limit. But yeah, hopefully we could draft some pretty solid players in this episode to get our team deeper in terms of our prospect pool, because we have a lot of guys getting up there in age, and I feel like this team might start to fall back a little bit, because guys like Jaskalainen, you can see, are 31, George Forster, and a lot of these guys are all pending UFAs as well, so our team might take a big hit to our roster and stuff like that going into next season. But yeah, hopefully we could just find some good players in the draft to fill out the spots we need, and maybe we can make at least one more run for a Stanley Cup. But anyways, before we get into the draft in the entire offseason, we do have a couple of comments to go over. So the first one is from HawksFan88. He says, tough way to go. I think you should focus on offense in his draft, so I would take Antons with your first pick. And if he's been taken, then I'd take Cole. So he's seen to go with Antons, which I would agree with, definitely to taking Antons or at least a forward in general, just because that's probably what we need, because we're going to be losing guys left and right the next few years, I think. So it makes sense for us to go for a forward. So he says to go with Antons, which he looks like this. He looks like a pretty good player. So if we have the chance, we'll definitely grab Antons. But if not, we'll go with Brock Cole, who looks like he could also be a pretty good player for us. So definitely, regardless, I think we're getting a top 6 forward, which is something we could definitely use to fill out our bottom 6 eventually, and then eventually they'll get into our top 6, and hopefully we could put them with some of the guys that are veteran heavy, like Jaskalainen, for example, and hopefully they'll help out our team in terms of offense. And the next and final comment is from Griffin Evans, and he says, no one wants an extension, which is true, so we might have to overpay on a lot of our players this offseason, which is not great. As you can see here, all expiring. All these guys do not want extensions, it looks like, so we might have to overpay a bit, which means more than likely we are going to end up losing a lot of good players on our roster this year. I'd like to still get Teratukin back, because Teratukin's one of the best defensemen I've probably ever had. So definitely he's one that we need to bring back. The RFAs are just going to probably get qualified, and then we want to try and keep as much of this roster together as we possibly can. So should be a very tough offseason for this team, but hopefully, like if we miss the playoffs next season, hopefully we get a good draft pick, and that could help project us into the right direction, or else I don't know if we're going to end up winning another Stanley Cup, or winning a Stanley Cup at all, I should say, in this franchise mode series. So let's get into the draft and get this offseason done with, because I do not want to waste no time. I already tried to record this episode multiple times a few weeks ago, and that's when that Russian glitch was happening, so this is my third attempt at it, so hopefully the bug is fixed and I can actually look at Russian players now. So we're drafting at number 22. So let's take a look at the top 5 players in this year's draft. So St. Louis takes Winther, who is a left wing playmaker, 80 overall. Pretty solid. Nothing too spectacular though with that overall, at least. Pittsburgh at number 2 is going to take Chung, who's a left wing playmaker, 81 overall, so a little bit better of an overall than the other guy. So that's interesting that he goes second, considering both of them are the exact same type of player, just one's a little bit better than the other. Vancouver at number 3 is going to take B. Lowe, who's a two-way defenseman, Bennett Lowe. No X factors, which is kind of a weird one for a 3rd overall pick. Vegas at number 4 is going to take Colborne, who's a 79 power forward. He does have some X factors. Looks like he's going to be probably a pretty good goal scorer and very good in tight as well, so kind of like a Brady Tkachuk, I guess you could say. And the Caps at number 5 are going to take Seabrook, who's a top 6 forward, so maybe a bit weaker of a draft than normal. So we might end up auto-simming some of our picks, but hopefully we could find some good stuff early on at least. So at number 22, we are not going to be able to get Antons, who literally just goes to Detroit, 2 spots above us, 65 overall, top 6. So this is what we missed out on, which kind of sucks. But his offensive awareness and his defensive awareness aren't great, so I don't know how good this guy's going to grow. Maybe he grows really good for Detroit, but I don't know if he would have grown really good for us. But since Hawkfan was mentioning, we'll definitely take Brock Cole with his next pick, since he looks like he's going to be a pretty good shooter. He's a sniper as well. So he should fit the sharpshooter motto, which we like snipers first, you know. Yeah, pro release, offensive instincts, and foot speed. So yeah, we're going to take Brock Cole. Welcome to the team, and he's a 66 sniper. Pretty solid. He's actually a better overall than Anton's is. His offensive awareness and defensive awareness are still not the greatest, so hopefully those get some good development. But his shooting category is pretty solid right now. His skating is decent. He's just going to take a little bit to develop, I'd say. But hopefully he at least makes it to the NHL at some point, because we definitely need those prospects that we're drafting to get into our team eventually. Let's see, second round pick here at number 55. I remember, who was it that I was drafting last time? I don't remember who I drafted last time, because I've done through this draft multiple times, but I don't remember who I was trying to draft last time. I might go with Israel Vitali, just because he might be a low elite defenseman. Even though we don't really need defenders, I might just go with him anyways. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go with him just in case he's a low elite. He's a low top 4, so that's not bad. Gives us something maybe to look forward to on our back end, because who knows, maybe we lose Taratukin this offseason if I can't re-sign him. I really hope that's not the case, though, because like I said, Taratukin's one of the best defensemen in the series for sure. Our next pick, we might as well just go with the top 9 as guaranteed, because that at least gives us something to look maybe forward to on our bottom 6. And this guy has really good defensive skills, so he's probably like a two-way forward, I'm guessing. Yeah, he is a two-way forward, okay. Yeah, you know what, we're going to just take Leonardo Griffith, because maybe he becomes something defensive for our bottom 6. 62 at 20, or at 19. Isn't terrible. I don't know if he's going to become anything huge, but even if he grows to like a 76, then that's still usable in the NHL for a draft glory team like ours. Emil Klein, I don't really know. Yeah, the rest of this draft might be a bit of a crapshoot, because there's a lot of guys that I don't really know anything about. Yeah, I honestly might just auto-sim the rest of this. Yeah, I think I'm going to auto-sim the rest of the draft, because I really don't know too much about it, and I want to just get to the re-sign stage and the most important stuff first. So yeah, we're going to sim the rest of this draft, because this literally doesn't look like a good draft at all, so hopefully the computer can find us some decent stuff. So the computer got us Klein, Morose, Richmond, and Langweeder, but hopefully we got some decent picks out of that. Okay, so before we actually get into the re-sign stage, I want to maybe try and offer Taratukin an 8-year contract if I can. He still does not want an extension, but ooh, 14.5. That's a lot of money though. Yikes. Okay, maybe I'll just wait till the re-sign stage. But somebody's gonna get really overpaid for probably on this team, I'm guessing. Okay, re-sign stage-wise, we aren't going to bring back our AHL head coach just because I feel like there hasn't been enough growth in the AHL, so I think our AHL team could use a new head coach. And we will re-sign these 3 scouts. There you go, Grand Pierre. But yeah, I think we're probably going to end up losing somebody pretty decent on our team, just because of the salary and whatnot that a lot of these guys are going to be asking for, which is kind of questionable. But if we go through a little bit of a retool, that might not be the worst option, because if we have 10 seasons left, we have like maybe 3 or 4 years we could retool in, and then we want to try and be competitive for the rest maybe. So but yeah, Taratukin's one that I definitely want to get back, but I'm not going to try and resign him yet. I'm going to qualify our RFAs first, just because why not? Gets them out of the way. Finish Sankov as well. Who else do we got down here? Lucic. We'll just qualify every RFA pretty much. Let's actually just go to the RFA tab and make it easier. Yeah, so we'll just qualify all these guys. AHL UFAs will probably let go of some of them just to like get some of them into our roster, just because we need to get some of them down there in the minors as fast as possible. We'll even qualify Benson for now, just because I don't want to overpay on him. And what do we got here? Unsigned guys. I don't think any of them deserve to be signed. Not yet, at least. Yeah, none of these guys deserve to be signed just yet. Let's go to the UFA tab and start on the bottom. And we're going to let go of Genoa. We're going to, let's see, Rick Betts. And I don't really know if he's going to make that. He's got decent passing and stuff like that. He was a 7th rounder, but he's already 21, so I'm going to release him. Radulov, I'm going to sign him. Just because he's a 66 at 22. Low, I'm going to sign him as well since he's got top 9 potential, but he is already 22, so he might not make it. Semin, I'm going to sign as well for the AHL. Brower, I'm going to sign. And then we might have to let go. Actually, we probably won't have to let go of any AHLers unless they want one-way deals, which some of these guys do. So I'm going to wait on a lot of those AHLers for now, I think. Yeah, let's go to the top of this list again. And what do we got here? So the big player we need to re-sign is Teratukin. We also got Ortiz. What is Ortiz asking for? $5 million. My God. I mean, he is a good simulator, though. Like, he might be asking for $5 million, but he's put up like 50 points in back-to-back seasons. But he's a third liner. How about Yip? What does Yip want for 1 year? $7 million? Are you kidding me? Oh my God. Why are a lot of these guys asking for that much money? Okay, so we could definitely probably get Ronning back at like 1.2, because why not for 78 that could play maybe on the top 6. I'll sign a couple of these guys for like 1.2, because might as well. I don't know why Tursenbaev wants 1.6, so I'm going to wait on him for now. But let's get Teratukin done with because he's the big one. 6 years at $14 million is way too much, but we might have to give him that because he doesn't want an extension. So I'm going to just try 6 by 14 on the dot, and hopefully he accepts that. It might be a major overpayment, but we need to have somebody like him on our back end, or else this team is not going to win a Stanley Cup, I'd say. So 6 by 14, let's try that. And who else we got to get back? Patan, what are you asking for? That's not too bad, actually. I'll get Patan back, see if I could. Actually, I'll just give him what he wants. It's relatively cheap for a 79 kind of 4th liner. It's a bit expensive, but at the same time, we just need all the guys we can get. And all these ones that are asking for one-way deals in the minors are kind of annoying. Most of those guys are probably going to be gone, I'm guessing. Let's just advance today and see if we get Teratukin back, because he's the big one. Once we get him back, then I could try and figure out what I could do with like the rest of these guys. So let's advance today and see if we get Teratukin back. Let's just go through this fastly. And Teratukin accepted. Okay, that's perfect. We'd only have 27 million though, which is not a lot of money to spend on cap space, especially when Burns is an RFA. Blacker wants a lot of money. I might have to wait till like a couple weeks into free agency to sign some of these guys, or see if they drop their asking prices, because damn, they are asking for a lot of money. Like, I'm not wanting to pay $5 million really to Ortiz. What about Forster? What are you asking for? 3.2 is really good. We'll do a let's do 2-year deal for him and give him just a little bit more than he wants. But yeah, Forster, relatively cheap. Might as well keep him. Schutz didn't accept the offer I sent him. I'm not going to re-sign Tursenbaev and stuff yet. I think I'm going to actually write those names down just because that way, if we can get those guys back in like free agency on like cheaper deals, then I will do that. Okay, so I wrote down a couple of those guys' names just because I think a lot of them are probably going to go to free agency for now. And I'm going to wait and see if their asking prices drop, because I don't want to overpay on them, and we only have $27 million to basically get all these RFAs back, which Burns and Scuderi might be expensive, especially Burns. And then the rest of these guys are probably going to be a little bit pricey, so I probably want to wait on a lot of those guys. So I think for now, after I get Forster back, I'm going to see if Blacker, Ortiz, and Yip drop their asking prices in free agency. So I'm risking losing them technically to free agency, but I want them also to drop their asking prices a bit. So we got to keep an eye out for Blacker, Ortiz, and Yip. And then all the RFAs will come with when we deal with those guys, I think. Yeah, so once we get Forster to accept, then we will figure that out, I guess. So Forster has accepted. So yeah, we only have $24 million to get a lot of these guys back, which right now Burns is asking for over $10 million, which would only put us down to $14 million. We got Scuderi as well, who wants 6. So yeah, I gotta wait and see these 3 guys especially drop their asking prices. But I gotta definitely write down some more names out of this, so that way I know who I've drafted and who I didn't. Actually, it doesn't really matter about the rest of these guys, I think. Okay, I just wrote down like 6 names total, and if these like a lot of these guys still appear in free agency and drop their asking prices after like a couple days, then I will definitely offer them contracts. But right now we're gonna let them all go to free agency just because I need to know how much cap space I have once I get like the RFAs back and whatnot. It might be a little bit of a weird thing to do, but I think this team needs a change up, and I do not want to overspend on a lot of these guys back. So we'll let those guys go to free agency and see if they could get a team to overpay for them. But hopefully we could drop their asking prices a bit by letting them go. So let's see what we got here. Let me just first go to... Actually, I don't want to check a look at free agency just yet. Let's just go like 1 week into free agency and see if our guys are still there. But yeah, if we end up losing them, this team is going to go through a little bit of a retool, but I think it makes sense for us to do a retool as soon as possible, because if we do it too late, then we're not going to make the playoffs at the last season and stuff like that. So let's go all the way to the 7th. Not the 8th. I want to go to the 7th and just see if some of these guys drop their asking price a bit. Because if they drop their asking prices, I could definitely re-sign them. So, do we got any of our former players there, like Yip and whatnot, still in free agency? Let's sort this by overall. It'd be easier if I could find former players. He wants $5 million still. That's not terrible, but I still think he should drop his asking price a bit. Who is the other one I was looking for? Blacker's still there. $5 million. Does he have any teams interested? No, he does not. Okay, so that's good that both those guys have no interest. We're looking at Ortiz, though. Burns is still an RFA, which is good. What about Ortiz, though? So Ortiz generating any interest from any teams? No, so far they're generating no interest, which is good because we might be able to drop them down a little bit more. So let's go another half week, I'd say, until there's teams like interested. Actually, let's just go another full week until there's teams interested in them, and then we'll try and drop their asking price. So we're getting some RFAs to accept, which is good. We're on July the 14th now, and we'll take a look and see if those guys are still there. And hopefully they drop down their prices by a little bit at least to make this more affordable. I think I saw Ortiz is still there, which is good. Yeah, Ortiz is still at 4,275, which is a bit of an overpayment at this stage, so I will wait on him. Did he have any teams interested, actually? I don't think so, right? He does have a team interested. That's not good. Calgary has interest. Am I willing to pay him $4 million to stay with his team? Probably, because he's 26 only. So let's just give him a little bit more than he's asking for. 1 year at 4.5. I want to keep him around if I can. Yip is still asking for 5,575, which is a bit too much, but he has no interest in any teams. And did Blacker sign somewhere? Blacker might have signed somewhere, which is unfortunate because he was the one I wanted to get back, but at the same time, he might not be worth that type of money anyways. He wasn't doing much in the playoffs, if I remember correctly, but we might have just lost Blacker here, which is not great, but it is what it is. Yeah, we lost Blacker. I don't know where he signed. Let me take a look at where he signed. But hopefully he didn't sign with a rival, but we did lose Blacker. Let's go to signings. Where did you sign Blacker? Because he had no interest in any teams, and then a week later he signed somewhere. He signed with the Islanders on a 3-year deal. Okay. Well, we weren't going to be able to pay him probably like $5 million for 3 years, so I guess I'm okay with that. Do I want to give, though, Yip a contract in since we just lost Blacker? Probably, because our defensive core might be a little bit weak, but still $5 million is a bit pricey. I think he will drop his asking price a little bit. I'll just go like a half week instead because I don't want to risk losing him like we just lost Blacker. So let's go to the 18th. A lot of those other guys should be still in free agency, and Ortiz decides to sign in Calgary. God damn it. Yeah, our team is definitely going to go through a retooling year, which I think you guys will probably agree with me that it's probably the best scenario for our team to do a retooling year. Just so we could get ourselves some more good young prospects in, but 5.5, he's dropping his price still, but he does still have no teams interested. I'm not wanting to pay him $5 million though. I mean, I do have the money now technically since we lost Ortiz and we lost Blacker. So you know what? We're just gonna give him the 1-year deal at $5 million. Might be an overpayment, but for now it should be fine. I just need him back. Let's give him a little bit more when you're at 5.3. And hopefully he accepts that, and then we'll sim up to next season and see if there's any of our guys still left in free agency that we could bring back, like say Caden Sador, Turson Bayev, that type of thing. And Chad Burns is accepted, that's good, and Yip is coming back, that's good news. So we got Chad Burns back on another 1-year deal, but he is going to be a UFA at the end of the season, which is kind of scary because the fact this team might not be a good contending team by then. So, but yeah, let's continue our sim up to next season already. And then, like I said, we'll take a look at free agents and see if there's anybody that's still out there that used to play with us that we drafted. And if there is, then we will sign them. Benson's still in an RFA, so we got to give him a better contract. Let's see if we can get him a contract. $12 million in cap space. Jeez. This team is right up against the cap still with Scuderi and whatnot. Let's do 2. Let's just get these guys back. Ooh, I want to wait on an FN Sankov for now. Benson wants 3.5. We'll just do it. Why not? But yeah, we're still going to be right up against the cap floor, just because some of our big guys are signed. But it is what it is. Let's continue to simulate. See if we get those guys. Yes, we do. Good. But yeah, hopefully there's still at least some decent like 76s and stuff like that we can fill out our roster with, because losing Ortiz is now going to make our forward core way weaker even. So there is a shot that our team is going to look pretty bad, I'd say. We're still listed as a buyer, which is interesting. It's probably because of our defense, though. Let's just go best lines right now. What do we got here? Our roster doesn't look terrible. There's a lot of 70s in it, though. And Jacobs is up to the NHL, which is interesting. And it's not the worst roster I've seen in this franchise mode so far. That's not bad. Umberger is not ready yet, technically. Grigorenko isn't either. I'd probably rather send them down to the minors. So yeah, that's what we'll do for now, because we don't even have really injuries on anyways. So we need to send Umberger and Grigorenko down, and we'll take a look and see if there's anybody left in free agency that was with us. Because if there is a chance I might bring them back, depending if we need them in the NHL or not. Let's go best lines down there. Nicholas is a 7th D, that's okay. We don't need those guys dressed. Okay, let's take a look at what's available. But yeah, our cap situation is not great. Let's see, is there any former players in free agency? Sort this by overall. And let's scroll through this list. Let's actually just go by each position because it might be a little bit easier. That's not anything I drafted. Silverberg. Did I draft a Silverberg before? Nope, that was Anaheim. I can never remember who I draft sometimes, though. So that might be a little bit of a problem here. We'll go down to like 76 overalls, I guess, or something like that. Do I need anybody here that used to play with us? Don't see anybody so far in terms of centers. Some of these guys I wish I could sign, but like I said, it's a draft to glory, so it's only players we've drafted. Wow, Josh Norris is really dropping off, huh? Wait, was Bykov one of our prospects? No. I recognize that name, though, for some reason. I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't look like really anybody in terms of centers, left wing-wise, any former players that I recognize. That I could sign maybe for like a 4th line type of role or a depth role. Doesn't really look like it, at least right now. We'll do it down to 75, and then we'll go over to right wingers. Oh, Caden Sador is still there. I could sign up Caden Sador, might as well, because that's our former pick. So we'll sign him up. Give us a little bit more depth and maybe a little bit of better of an overall for a team. Not that we care if we do super well this year or not. Okay, so that's good for left wingers. Right wing wise, what do we got here? Any other former players in free agency? And then we'll go to defensemen. But yeah, it sucks that we lost multiple players this offseason again. But I kind of figured that was going to happen with our cap situation because I did re-sign a lot of our top 6 forwards to like big contracts. But I'd like to keep a lot of those guys around. So we have to kind of sacrifice our depth to have some really good top 6 players. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be anybody on forward, really. Defensively, any former players of ours? Shoots, right? Yep, Jurgen Shoots. Might as well bring you back. He wants a one-way deal, but that's okay with me. You might as well just sign him up anyways. He could just be scratched in the NHL, but that way we have a depth option in case we randomly suffer an injury, but I don't think we will. Anything else? If there's anything I miss, you guys could let me know as well, and then I could sign him in next episode, but let's see. Yeah, it doesn't really look like anything else. Oh, there's Ladd. Yeah, Glenn Ladd was one of our picks. We could sign him up again. He does have good offensive awareness and stuff, so might as well sign him to a 2-way deal. He was with our AHL team last season, so... Okay, that looks pretty good. And then goalie-wise, might as well check this as well. Even though we don't really need a goalie. Park is back in free agency. Are you kidding me? Jesse Park back in free agency. He spent 1 year in New Jersey. Do I bring him back? You know what? I think we bring him back. Yeah, we're going to bring him back. Because even though we do have Sweat, and Sweat was really good last year in the playoffs, might as well give ourselves another depth goalie just in case, because more goalies the better in a sense going into the playoffs if we get there again. But that's cool to see him back there in free agency. Definitely gives us more depth. And there's also Janssen too, but I don't think I really need 4 goalies. Yeah, I don't think there's really any use for Janssen. He hasn't played actually in 4 years since he played with us. But he's like the OG goalie of this franchise mode. So it would be interesting to bring him back, but I don't think there's any use for him. So there is those signings. So let's advance just a couple more days so we get those signings done. Let's advance a day. A lot of these guys are probably just going to be scratched in the NHL. Like, we'll probably use Park as like a depth goalie in the NHL, because I don't think he needs to play in the AHL, especially considering I think we have prospects down there that are playing. Yeah, Galvin technically should be playing. I should technically send Sweat down, but I don't want to do that. We're going to call up Park. And who else do we got here? Shoots could stay in the minors, and same with Ladd for now. That's fine. Okay, so there is our signings. Let's go to edit lines quickly, because I don't want this episode to be too long. The question is, do we play Sweat as our backup, considering how good he was in the playoffs? He's had a really good playoff record throughout his entire career, and even in the AHL. So do we play Sweat, or do we scratch him for the regular season and play Park? And then maybe we play Sweat in the playoffs, depending on how the goalies are simulating, if we get to the playoffs. But yeah, that's a question I have for you guys. I also did sign Sador. I could send down Bankston instead, or I could just give him a random shot down there. I think I might just give him a shot anyways. Might as well. But yeah, this is what our forward core looks like. It's not great in terms of depth, but it's a solid top 6. A very solid first line still. And then defensively, we will probably have to run with something like... I don't know. What could we run with? I don't want to run with this, because the Sedin on that pairing doesn't make sense. Yeah, we could probably run with something like this case scenario, maybe. Yeah, we could run with something probably like one of these type of ideas, which is not bad. And then that's good. How is their special teams looking? Not great. Not great. Maybe I should change this up a bit and put... Yeah, that looks better. Yeah, we'll do something like that, I think. Yeah, that looks good. Just get rid of those minuses if we can. And then I would like Jaskalainen to be there. There we go, that's good. And we'll leave the rest of that the same. Okay, so perfect. So our team is still looking okay, I'd say, but the depth is definitely not there. So it just really depends on how this team simulates. I'm not really sure what to expect from this team. Final thing before we actually end this episode is I want to just take a look at the draft class just to see what we got here in terms of player types. So there's some good forward prospects, which is good. So if we do bad, we'll probably get ourselves a good forward prospect, which is definitely something we could use. But when our contract situation looks a little bit like this, let's see, all expiring, it's kind of scary because basically 2 of our top liners, their contracts are up. That will give us more cap flexibility, but both of them want like over $10 million. And then you also got Burns, who's like kind of like our second line center. So it's like we're going to probably run into cap situation problems this offseason unless we let somebody big go. But yeah, our team is definitely going through a retooling phase, but I think it is for the best. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Houston Sharpshooters Draft to Glory franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll simulate the entire season, and we'll see if this team can make it back to the playoffs or if they're going to have a retooling season. And yeah, hopefully we could get a good draft pick regardless if we make the playoffs or not. So let me know down below, and I'll see you guys next time.